Now, all right. Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to Talkin Investing. Hello, George. You're a little bit out of screen. Hello, George. Hello, everyone.
I just wanted to not mess with anybody's ears.
Gotcha. All right.
Hello.
Welcome to the stream. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to the end of the week. It was a good week for Bitcoin. It was a very good week for Bitcoin. It was a very good week for most of the Bitcoin miners. So we've updated all of our charts through the end of the day today. We had a bunch of Bitcoin miners make some press releases and announcements this week. A lot going on in the Bitcoin mining universe. So we're going to go through all of that today. You can see the big board up here on the right on your screen. Everything green with one exception. And we'll talk about that exception because I almost don't even count. Core Scientific was in the red this week, but it is by so far in first place out of all the Bitcoin miners this week that I think there was a little bit of a natural rotation there, which we've talked about many times on this channel. So that seemed to have played out a little bit today, but we'll dig deeper on that and we'll show you what the Bitcoin miners did today and what they did this week, because some of them had big weeks. And the question is there more room to go? Because when we look at the Bitcoin chart, we hit a couple of magic numbers today. So we'll see what everybody thinks, where we're going. Any thoughts before we get rolling, George?
I think you have.
All right, welcome to Talkin Investing. Aha. We got a chat from a member for 24 months. George, should I disclose who that member is?
Yeah, that's me. They know it's me.
That is you. That is George. And he said, who called this?
Only thing I was in shock with, Tom, is that we did make 70 today.
Well, that's true. We were looking for maybe 70. We'll see what happens in the short term, but I'm going to get a poll up right away, and then we'll discuss, because let's see where people are at. Oh, by the way, before I do that, if everybody could please smash the like button. We're at 19 likes. We're going for 100 likes and then 200 likes. So if you could please help us out, do us a favor, and it helps the stream a lot in real time. So enough said. Thank you very much to all who have smashed the like button. Special thanks to all of the members, and of course, thanks to the subscribers as well. So, okay, with all that said, let's get back to the poll. All right, Sour Melon Gaming, I'll do your poll first. So we'll start with a real simple poll. This is brought to you recommended by one of our members, Sour Melon Gaming. Will Bitcoin hit 70,000 this week? So I will tell you, we hit, just on this 15-minute chart, we have this bright yellow line at the top. That is at $69,000. That is the peak from the previous all-time high back in November of 2021. So you'll see in this candle, about an hour and a half before we closed the U.S. equity markets here, according to this chart, we got to $69,000.62. So we did bounce off of 69. Now it's some short-term resistance, right? We had 3 candles in a row that pretty much got right to that level. We've pulled back a little bit, but you're talking about 15-minute candles here. So I'm not ready to, say what comes next based on a few 15-minute candles, but we did retest this 69,000. And when we go to our one-day chart, you're going to see that was a super significant move that we made today. And we've been headed towards this move all week long. And this is another 2 months in a row that started out rough. And, I feel like they tried to fool the retail investors. September 1st through September 6th, which was last month, was not good. I wouldn't want to say disaster, but it was just all down. Everybody was in a panic about September, and we ended up in the green by the end of September. Now, October started the same way. down, down, down. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, maybe, you know, everyone going into October was like, October, it's going to be, you know, October's the big month. Historically speaking, October's Bitcoin's best month out of the 12 months of the year for whatever that, you know, you can take out of that. And so we talked about this on the members only stream and the live stream at the beginning of the month, that this feels like the same type of setup where they're tanking it a little bit at the beginning of the month, and then big money's going to move in. And I'm going to show you a bunch of different things where it looks to me like big money is moving into Bitcoin in a big way right now. So Edmund's asking, did I add MicroStrategy to my charts? So I don't have it on my charts yet, Edmund. I did say I would do that, and I will do that. I do have the MicroStrategy chart up so that we can take a look at it. MicroStrategy kind of had a consolidation week this week, but when we look at the year to date, we're going to see that it's better. It's performing better than all of the Bitcoin mining stocks, and it's not even close. It's performing better than Bitcoin by a mile. So far, that has been the best play. I think I had an article on that as well. I think I left that one open. I have to scale back. You know, throughout the week, I find 50 articles to read, and obviously we don't have time for that on the live stream. So I scale back and delete them. So we'll see. I think that one might have made the cut, though. We'll talk about it. Thank you, everybody, for getting us up to 45 likes real quickly. If you just joined us or if you haven't smashed the like button, please do us a favor and hit the like button. It does help the channel out in real time a lot. All right. And you're feel free to vote in the poll. Will Bitcoin break 70,000 this weekend? We got kind of tight, 69 to 31%. 69% think, yes, Bitcoin will hit 70,000 this weekend. I will tell you, I think we're starting to see a little bit of what might be a little bit of a short-term pullback, but by the end of the weekend, I think this could turn around. For all I know, by the end of this stream, this could turn around. So Bitcoin has been very resilient, you know, the last, I'm going to say 10 days at least. And there's more and more optimism out there. Donnell saying, I'll take sideways as long as it doesn't go down. Yeah, I mean, if there's a little consolidation around 69,000, these are nice moves to the upside. Ethan saying Bitcoin breaking 70K imminently. So, I mean, we're right there at this point. I mean, we moved from yesterday. The gold line here was where Bitcoin was when the U.S. equity markets closed yesterday. So you can see we were at 66,800 and we got all the way to 69,000. So, you know, that was about 2.5%. And a couple of $1,000. So the prospect that we might move up $1,000 or now $1,500 from here over the weekend is by no means unthinkable. What do you think, George?
I try not to think, Tom. I find it gets me in trouble. So I just kind of go with the ebbs and the flows of life. And so when you don't think and you got to vote, what do you do?
Well, close your eyes and press a button.
I think that this is going to be a great month. I mean, we got 2 moons in this month. Not that the moon has any activity whatsoever to do with anything, but you know, we still have another full moon coming up next, in 15 days, I think. 7.
Yep, this is a rare month that has 2 full moons in it.
So I think that this is a crazy time with a lot of energy built up. So there's a lot of hype on Bitcoin.
I think that I feel like the hype has only not even just begun because retail investors checked out of Bitcoin. They checked out of the Bitcoin miners in a big way. But when we go to the week-to-date chart for this week, I think we're starting to see some people come back in. Now, we've been fooled before, so I understand, you know, one week does not a trend make, but there was some really nice moves this week. And I see a bunch of people welcoming you back, George. So welcome back.
I only missed one day. Dude, no one's talking about Augusta, Georgia in this storm, and they got destroyed. And so I'm over in Augusta helping people out. Yeah, it's bad, guys. It's really bad. I mean, I'm telling you, the tree that fell, I've never seen a tree so big fall. I was just in shock.
Oh yeah, your job where you got that giant tree.
It's already gone. We already took it down and moved it. It was freaking insane. But I'm just excited. I've put a lot of money into other crypto coins too, by the way, and they're all doing well.
Very nice. Well, that was going to be one of my polls today. Should I fast forward, jump ahead?
Two full moons are better than one. I try to tell my wife that all the time.
Oh boy. Let's go to the 1-day chart. I want to take a look. Let's get right to some of this stuff. And let's go to the 1-day chart. I got two different 1-day charts that I want to look at. This is the first one. This is the one that has a lot of lines. You know, this has all my lines from way back when. Some of these lines are 3 or 4 years old. But if we zoom in, you can see back in August, you know, we topped out around here. And this is when things started to get interesting to me. A month later, at the end of September, we did get a higher high. That has not happened to us in a long, long, long time. We've talked about that on the channel a lot. And now we absolutely clearly have multiple days at a higher high. You know, I won't draw that on top of that, but so, and, you know, the same thing, you know, we got a higher low, a higher low. So these are a little bit, you know, this is on the 1-day time frame. To me, this is very encouraging. So, you know, and then there's not, what I wanted to show is this was our big line. We've been trying to work our way back to, we haven't been to 69,000 since July. So this is a multiple month high, and it was a long road to get here. We had this, you know, everything flash crashed on August 5th. Equity markets, Bitcoin, all the cryptocurrencies. And we kind of had another panic on September 6th. Like I said, the first week of September, they kind of scared everybody. And then, you know, here we go again. We had a dip at the beginning of October, kind of a double dip down through October 10th. And then since then, it's just been up and away. So my point of this is, I mean, we don't have a lot of lines left. I got a line at around 71,000. We hit that, you know, give or take wherever you want, somewhere in the 71,000 range. We hit it again. And then the last time we were there was back at the beginning of June. So, you know, that seemed to be resistance for a couple of months, several months actually. And then we broke to the downside and we haven't been back, but it feels like, I'll go to the next 1-day chart because this is where it feels like we've had a trend reversal. So, you know, you always got to be careful calling trend reversals and calling bottoms and all that kind of stuff. But when we look at this chart, and you guys are probably going to be familiar with this, and you've seen something like it here and many other places. This is the chart we've been keeping our eye on for, you know, almost 7 months now. These lines, these green lines we drew probably 4 months ago, and we've been trading very reliably up and down in this range. You can see a lot of candle wicks have left this range, but all the daily candles have closed. They've either held this line of support or bounced from this line of resistance. Well, today, for the first time in 7 months, we have a daily candle that, unless something dramatic happens in the next couple of hours, we are going to close our first daily candle above this line. Now, I will caution everybody, I've seen this chart in 50 different places, and everybody has these lines in a little bit of a different spot. So some people felt like we already crossed the line. I've seen some very conservative views using all the candle wicks, and it shows maybe we still have a little bit to go, but I feel like momentum is in our direction, and I feel like we've broken out of. I mean, this is what we've been looking to do. I've been putting X's up here saying, you know, until we do this, we're stuck in a range. Well, we did this today. So to me, this was a big day. And I know we've been higher. We're not at our all-time high, but we did just bounce off of last cycle's all-time high today. So I think that's a big deal. I think we're trending in the right direction.
Do you have where this channel is, where it should run up to, Tom, or where it should, kind of start to peter out? In the next three, like say the 7-month period that we just went through.
So if we break out, where do we go from here?
Yes.
So, I mean, in my mind, if we break out of here, there's a couple of different ways that I think this is a bull flag. And, it's a very long bull flag. So the thing about this is a lot of sideways consolidation. Yes, it had a bias to the downside, but this is what a bull flag looks like. And it just depends where you start the flag. But I mean, this could be anywhere, in my opinion. And again, now this is because it was such a long bull flag. It could be 3 or 6 months before it plays itself out, if it does. And there's a million things that could happen in the middle. But to me, you're looking at a price target, the full play out of this could break $90,000 in my opinion. And there's if you want to look at it as a bigger bull flag, and I'll just show you what I'm talking about. So there's 2 ways to look at this. We had a bunch of consolidation right here. And this was, in February. So if you consider this consolidation the beginning of the bull flag, then your bull flag really is this line right here. But if you consider that, this is when this run began, that would be an even much bigger bull flag. So, this is where technical analysis, I always caution people, this is one chart. So there's a million different ways to look at this. But to me, the common theme, no matter where you draw any of these lines, is I think momentum, more important than anything, I think, when we look at this, the momentum of having this higher high and this higher high, this hasn't happened to us in 7 months. So, we've been doing lower high, lower, lower, lower. So, that's what was going on. And it feels like we've had a trend reversal and we've broken out of this. So I'm extremely encouraged. I would caution everybody, as always, nothing goes in a straight line. So, first of all, one candle is not confirmation. I usually like to say, I'd like to see a candle close above, if you're looking at a line of resistance, you'd like to see a daily candle close above that and then have the next daily candle confirm that, staying above it, opening and closing above that. Ideally, that's how I usually try to look at this. So, you guys can comment on your thoughts on this. And technical analysis is not a science. It just isn't. And it's only one thing. And George, as you know and talk about all the time, this is a fluid situation. A lot of things are happening in Bitcoin, in the financial markets, in the world. So, and all of it affects Bitcoin. But just strictly speaking, all other things being equal, this is the most encouraging price action we've had in my opinion, 7 months. I want to get to Midway. Midway, thank you very much for the super chat. Midway said, are you thinking of selling a lot of your Cleanspark shares in the 30s? Or do you think it'll probably hold most of them into the 40s and 50s? No, I am not. I'm not going to hold out for 40 or 50 on Cleanspark. And I understand, a lot of people have even higher price targets than that. But if you look at Cleanspark, let me go to, I think I have this chart open. Right, we're at $12.86 on Cleanspark. A week ago, we were at $8.75. So, by the time you're at 30, I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to do this real quickly. So if you go from where we were, 8 days ago, up to 30, that's almost a 250% move. That's a 3.5x right there. So yeah, I would definitely, and again, this is not financial advice, and everybody has a different way of taking profits, but my exit strategy in all likelihood will have me getting out of, a lot of what is my largest position, in the 30s. I'll still hold some, that's my plan anyway. And if it gets into the 40s and if it gets into the 50s, then a lot of it becomes a free ride from there. So you can take that part of the journey. But so, and again, that's just my thoughts. There's a lot of people that have bought and sold CleanSpark 10 times and made a lot of money on the way up and on the way down in the middle. I'm more of a buy and hold. So I'm waiting for it. And then Sourmelon Gaming, thank you for the super chat. Sourmelon Gaming said, Tom/George, I hope you both go to bed at night with smiles on your faces for all the lives you've changed. Would have sold in June of 2022 if not for you. Well, thank you, Sourmelon Gaming. And congratulations to you as well for, right, you can listen to all the people you want, and there's a lot of voices and a lot of noise out there, but at the end, each one of you makes your own buying and selling decisions. So if you were able to grin and bear it through that 2022 season, June of 2022 was despair in the Bitcoin miner world.
Tom, since we have a decent sized chat or viewing right now, what we should do is put in a poll. Let's see how many people have 1x, 2x, 3x, or 4x their money. All
right, let's do it. So we're going to end the current poll. Will Bitcoin break 70,000 this weekend? 72% say yes. We're knocking on the door right now. And just specifically their Bitcoin related investments.
Yeah, just specifically their Bitcoin. I mean, I don't think too many people would be. I know there's some people that have 3 and 4x. I don't know. Do 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 4 plus or something like that. I don't know.
I'm going to say since the bottom.
Since the bottom, yeah. Jeff, I'm buying some. Oh, no, it wasn't Jeff. Who was it? Jeff. Somebody said to buy Lawrence. I'm going to buy right now. I don't know anything about it.
All right, let's take a look. Let's see how people have done. So how have your Bitcoin related investments performed since the bottom? So basically that was really the double bottom was basically in November and December of 2022. So from there, if you can figure it out from the top of your head, have you 1 to 2x? Have you 3 to 4x? Are you basically even-ish? Some people may still be even. Some of these miners have performed better than others. Or are you down? And everybody got in at different times as well. So we'll see across the board how people have done in these. I know, for the last several months, people have been a lot of comments, a huge lack of interest, and a lot of comments about how all these stocks are garbage. These business models don't work. None of these stocks are ever going anywhere. Now, I don't think we should take a victory lap after one good week, but this type of week does go to show you. And if you go back to 2023, most of the 12 stocks that we now follow, we were following 17, I think 19, and a bunch of them got so small they became nano cap stocks. They were 1/10 or 1/20th the size of the rest of the group. So of the 12 that we follow, they were pretty much all up 3 or 4 or 5 or 600% in the year 2023. Now some of them are red in the year 2024. So you got to balance those out. And we're going to look at that year-to-date chart in a few minutes. So I got the week-to-date chart, the year-to-date chart that we can look at. But let's see. That was a good question, George.
Every once in a while I come up with them, Tom,
For those who dollar cost averaged in, and this is like the hardest lesson on earth. It's the simplest rule, and it's the hardest thing to do on earth, is to just keep dollar cost averaging in. It's everybody can sit here and say it, but doing it is it can be brutal.
And I'm sitting pretty too, because I did something a little crazy. I got out for 30 days because I needed to take it's called a wash roll for taxes. I
Yep.
had to clean some money. That's how you can do it in the IRS world.
But you did pick, you nailed that 30-day period.
Yeah, it just kind of all made sense what they were doing. The setup, the play was in. You know, look at Mr. Hawk. Woohoo, nice. 70K to 287.
Congratulations. That we love to hear that type of a success story. That is absolutely so. That's life, listen, that's life-changing money.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what's even better, if it's in your pocket, that means it's not in the freaking hedge fund pocket. That's what I like.
And Alexander's saying he was as high as 410, so he's still mad. But try to keep it in perspective, Alexander. The ebbs and flows, because I think we all think there's a lot more room to the upside for Bitcoin. I don't think I don't think we're at the end of this run by any means. I know there are some people out there that actually do think we're at the end of the Bitcoin run. I think we haven't really hit our stride yet. We haven't even had typically it's been the last two cycles in 2016 and in 2020. It took between 215 and 235 days after the halving to get to the previous all-time high. And then it was the period of time after that Bitcoin basically went parabolic. So we're not even there yet. We're still a couple of months away from hitting that benchmark. Now, this time was different. We had a much bigger run-up going into the halving because of the ETFs and because of the overall adoption. So things do change and evolve, but I still think, we had our pullback. We just, we're still in the middle of it. Looks like maybe today we'll end up marking the breakout, but we'll see. Time will tell. We're in the middle of 7 months of consolidation, so that can happen. But I feel like most people here's price target, and maybe we'll do that poll next, is a lot higher than 70,000. I don't think this is where everyone's expecting this thing to top out and be done.
When I'm only in three not cryptos, three miners right now, and it is Iron or Iris or whatever you call them.
They like Iron now.
Iron and Riot and Bitfarms. That's it.
Yeah, and I like those three.
I'm just gonna let it ride. My thing is, I'm gonna probably look for a strategy by the end of the year to see if I can take more profit. Robin, though, who freaking a 5Xer? Dude, that's insane. Robin, that's amazing.
Congratulations.
I haven't started yet. It's still spring.
And Sourmelon Game saying there was a day when Bitfarms was 45 cents and my finger was on the sale button. Tom talked me out of it. So that's where I'm saying it's tough to dollar cost average. When your stock's at 45 cents, and I can tell you, we had probably 15 streams over the course of 2022 talking about, Bitfarms is going to have to do a reverse stock split. That was the overwhelming consensus. That was that Bitfarms was doomed. They were going to have to do a reverse stock split. And I did hold strong, and obviously it was just my opinion. I did not think that was going to be the case. I thought they would make their way through this. And, now they're in a much, much, much better place. And I still think, in my opinion, I think they've had, I know the last 3 weeks have been rough for Bitfarms. They've been lagging behind their peers. We can maybe talk about why that might be, but I think if they do what they say they're going to do between now and the end of the year, there could be another big move ahead for Bitfarms. So, and even, if you bought in at 45 cents, I mean, you're still at a quadruple rate now, even though it hasn't really done, what some of its peers have done lately. So there were a lot of opportunities, but I gotta, I'm sure a lot of you guys remember when things got under $1 and everything was a nightmare. It's so hard to keep your dollar cost average strategy at that time. So that takes total conviction. So congratulations and it looks like a lot of you did. If we look at the results of this poll, 45% have a 1x to 2x. 32% have 3 to 4x'd. About 13% are even, about 10% are down. So depending on when you got in and which ones you got in, not everybody has had the same results, but these are, 78% of the people have between doubled and quadrupled their money from the bottom from here. So, that is a big congratulations.
Look at this poll. Look at that poll.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
Beautiful.
That's impressive.
That is very impressive. And that means this group has had a lot of resolve to stay. And I see Larry saying 2025 will be the biggest year. So if the cycle holds true since the beginning of Bitcoin, then 2025 would be the biggest move up for Bitcoin out of the last couple of years. 2023 was spectacular. So for the Bitcoin miners, it's going to be hard to duplicate those results. There were miners, like I said, up 500 or 600%. So after having that run, it's hard, but we could get 2x's, 3x's, 4 or 5. I know there's people counting on a lot of these stocks doing a lot more than 5xing from here. So I tend to be a little more conservative than that. But here's the thing. When things get going, when stuff gets heated up, if Bitcoin does what it does, the market gets irrational. That's when FOMO hits in. That's when the retail investors get in. And I would just say at that point, if and when we get there, consider the signs, consider what happened, what comes next after that. And, maybe there's profit taking to be done somewhere along the way. Whatever you do, somewhere there should be profit taking in your strategy. Unless you think these are blue chip stocks that are going to just consistently go up for, generations to come. But, the Bitcoin miners tend to be much, much more volatile than that. So, obviously it's everybody's personal opinion. I just would say bear that in mind. Barry said only 71 likes. Come on, people. So yes, please, if you're here, if you've just joined us, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Glad to have you here. I know a lot of you are returning and frequent flyers, and I see a lot of members. So a special thanks to all the members. So if everybody could please, if you have not yet, if you could smash the like button, it does help the stream out a lot in real time. So we appreciate that a lot. I think we're just starting to get to the good part here, everyone. So we will see. What are you thinking, George?
No, I'm just thinking you're right. I think that we're pessimistic in nature, right? And we always believe the other shoe's going to fall. But I still think that we're not completely out of the woods until the U.S. goes through its election, personally. And I think after that election, depending on the outcome, could be very good for crypto or be very bad for crypto, depending on what your thought processes are. I don't think it'll stay even, though. Do you?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I had 2 articles. I might have accidentally closed one of them. I want to go through those and talk about that because there's some big differences of opinion. And I want to do a poll and see what you guys think. And then I'll tell you what I think about that. So okay. First of all, let's close this poll out. Congratulations to everybody on some really nice returns. Even in what's been, I know, these returns include the fact that the last, 3 months have not been fun. I mean, they've been brutal. And if you're directly in Bitcoin, the last 7 months have been rough. But with that, we still have a lot of people that have done very well. So special congratulations to everybody. I'm going to put up a poll and then let's talk about what George just asked. Tis the season. So we have to, this is not talking politics. It's talking how is politics going to affect our investments? And that is the question. And there's a lot of chatter about that right now. It's dominating the discussion.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't even really have an opinion of it yet, personally. Wow, that would be awesome. In my opinion, flagpole of this bull flag we just broke today, print before the end of the year. Wow. That'd be cool. I personally think that it's going to get to 100,000 before the end of the year. So don't hate me if it only gets to 98 or 95.
Hey, listen, if it gets in that neighborhood, I have a feeling everybody here will be very happy. That would be a very nice result.
But I think the next, I think there are whammies out there, so to speak, that could derail everything. But I don't think it would be long term, personally.
It feels like you're getting a little more comfortable with the fact that despite the fact there's a lot of stuff, right? We've had a lot of geopolitical unrest. We've had, a lot of financial market unrest in different countries around the world. A lot is going on. These are stressful times. So I hope everybody is taking a deep breath and trying to find their way through these stressful times. And all of those things can have an impact on your psyche, and they can definitely have an impact on your portfolio. So it seems like we've navigated through some, there were some things that seemed imminent that it feels like we've kind of navigated our way through. There's a lot still out there, and you never know what comes next. I will say there's more and more talk. There's an overwhelming amount of talk about a soft landing, if you will, for the U.S. economy. That's prevailing wisdom right now. There's probably a lot of people that have different opinions on that are listening right now, but that's what's going on. And we're going to take a look at what we think the Fed is going to do as well, because I think that's almost completely locked in unless something bizarre happens.
And bizarre, I think there are bizarre things that are probably going to happen, Tom.
And there's no doubt we've had, we talk about black swan events, which are supposed to happen, every once in a very great while. But it seems like the world lately is all right. There's a lot more unusual things going on in the last period of time. Midway, thank you very much for the super chat. Midway said, Bitcoin might do very well if Harris wins the election because people will sell a lot of their altcoins. A Democrat-led SEC won't be as good for altcoins and rotate the money into Bitcoin instead. So that's an interesting take. I have not heard that take. So thank you, Midway. And that would be a shame for the altcoins, because I know an awful lot of people are looking very much forward to altcoin season. And we're going to talk just a little bit about that. We are mostly Bitcoin and Bitcoin miner conversation here, but we'll talk about the altcoin season as well. So that's a different twist on it. Right now, the poll is that if you have not voted, and a bunch of you haven't voted, do you think the outcome of the U.S. election will affect Bitcoin this cycle? So, I'm not saying in the 48 hours following. I'm talking as this cycle plays itself out over what should probably be, the next 12 to 15 months, are we going to have a different outcome? Or, so I'll give you my opinion. I think ultimately, even if there's a short-term knee-jerk reaction one way or the other, I think that Bitcoin prevails. I think the adoption is real, and the bull market, in my opinion, is coming regardless of the outcome of the election. Now, there may be a lot of other ramifications, and we'll never know for sure, because if whoever wins, if Bitcoin goes up, maybe if the other person had won, it would have gone up more for all we know. So, we'll never definitively know exactly the results. But I do think the bull market is going to play itself out, in my opinion, regardless of this outcome of this election. And, prevailing wisdom, whatever your politics are, it is overwhelmingly the investment community is betting that a Trump victory is much better for Bitcoin. So again, I'm not saying that's my opinion or George's opinion or just Channel's opinion. It's the betting markets are showing that is a fact. The betting markets and the reaction in Bitcoin. I've seen several articles calling this the Trump rally. And I would also caution, I'm going to go to this because I do want to caution people of something as well. I'm going to go to Polymarket, which a lot of you guys may be familiar with. We look at this from time to time. this is Polymarket. This is basically a crypto betting website. And really the main thing, there's 1,000 different things you can bet on here. The main thing right now, the thing that's getting all the money, you can see there's over $2 billion that has gone into this, is the election. And a very strange thing has happened. You can see just a few weeks ago, in fact, 2 Fridays ago, George, if you remember, when I refreshed, this was tied on the betting markets 49-49. And then during the stream, we pressed refresh and Trump popped up by a little bit. But for whatever reason, this has drastically changed. And as this betting market has changed, and I'm not saying it's a one-to-one correlation, but there's been a massive amount of articles that I've read that basically have said this is a part of the reason Bitcoin is rallying right now. Now, I don't know if that's true, because we've got just as many people that thought the fourth quarter was going to be a good month. The election in general could be boding well for Bitcoin. October, I mean, we had a lot of optimism. We had massive optimism coming into October. So what my caution here is this thing has changed over time. This is a gigantic swing in a short period of time. And this is just people betting. So I would be very cautious to take too much away from what this chart says right here. That's all I would say about this. So, take it with a grain of salt. Like we talk about literally every single data point that we talk about, no one data point is all telling. And certainly this is just people betting money. So as fast as this could change, which it's changed drastically in 2 weeks, who knows what the next 2 weeks hold. So I would just put a caution on that one right there for those, because I know a lot of people do look at this, and I've seen it mentioned by every major news channel is tracking this. I mean, the amount of attention that Polymarket is getting, that this thing right here is getting, and this is not a poll. I want to let everybody know, this is not a poll. This is just people betting. So just, that's all I'll say. Enough said.
I think there's not enough said, Tom. You can always say more about it.
Well, that's true. And I'm going to go find that article that talks about, I did have 2 articles. I hope I didn't close them both. Come on. Okay, so this one, there were 2 different points of view, and I think I closed the other one out. One article was basically saying this election is everything. It is the defining moment for Bitcoin. And it was a big analyst, and I'm sorry I closed the article. I don't know who it was, but they were basically saying if Trump wins, Bitcoin to the moon. If he doesn't, Bitcoin sideways. So whatever that's worth. And again, here's a different article. This is from October 15th, so earlier in the week. Trump leads Harris. And again, this is misleading. Trump leads Harris, but that's basically they're talking about Polymarket, the betting market. But POTUS won't matter for Bitcoin. And this is from Larry Fink from BlackRock. And that's why I wanted to talk about this. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink said, it doesn't matter to Bitcoin who occupies the White House. Now, this isn't even some analyst talking. This is not some miscellaneous person. This is BlackRock. So they have not only by far the biggest Bitcoin spot ETF, they manage more money than any other company in the world. And we all know the influence. This is a big player in the space. And he goes on to talk about, he says some pretty big things about Bitcoin. I want to focus more on that. Bitcoin transcends U.S. politics and regulations. Bitcoin is its own asset class that could transcend global politics, Fink added. So he really, this was a very bullish conversation and I think this might have been on CNBC. I can't remember. And he had a conversation, and he was just a very, very pro Bitcoin conversation, and it got down to the level of, does it matter who wins, right? They're asking the question we're asking, does this matter? And his answer was, no, it's on. Adoption is on. He said he's having meetings with money managers all around the world on what to do and how to adopt Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and it was cryptocurrency in general, but it was very Bitcoin specific. I think I have another article. Yeah. BlackRock CEO Fink unleashes Bitcoin bombshell. That's the title of this article. So, quote, we believe Bitcoin is an asset class in itself, not even cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is an asset class in itself. It is an alternative to other commodities like gold. Conversations we're having with institutions worldwide are about how they should think about digital assets, what type of asset allocation there should be. Fink emphasized the inevitability of digital assets becoming a global reality. I do believe the utilization of digital assets, this is a quote, is going to become more and more of a reality worldwide. So this is what we've been talking about, forever, George, that the adoption is happening. I think it's past, its critical mass point. I don't think you put the genie back in the bottle on cryptocurrency, and most specifically on Bitcoin. And there's a reason there's still two categories, Bitcoin and altcoins. Even Ethereum is considered an altcoin. And even Larry Fink specified himself that he says Bitcoin is its own asset class. So I just think this is very bullish. And that's why I think we are still in the early stages of this bull market. And so to me, I think we could have some short-term reactions based on who wins the election, but I just don't think we're going backwards on Bitcoin long run.
Do you think the 50,000 Bitcoin will never happen again?
Ooh, I mean, we're at 68 to 69,000 right now. So, I can't rule that out.
Okay, how about this? What about 40,000?
I don't think we ever see 40,000 Bitcoin again. That's my opinion. I'm tempted to say we never see 50, but I do think if you look, let's go to the 1-day chart, because if you look, we had this one panic candle wick down to $49,000. So that was not that long ago. That was August 5th. So is it possible that a series of events happen and we retest that number? I don't think that's what's going to happen. I'm not expecting that. I think the bull market is just about to get going. But it's certainly, I think it would be naive to say there's just no chance it's ever going to get to this. We were just there. I think it's way too soon to say there's no chance it's ever going to get here again. I'm not expecting it, but it's got to be on the table. How about you?
Oh, I mean, I still think at any given time, you can have an 80% correction in Bitcoin.
Right. And that's a typical crypto winter, is that 80% mark. Some have been worse than that.
And I think that there's still, that chance. I don't see it right now, but I mean, what people don't realize is that when it plummets, it's just like when it goes up, it can move quickly.
There's no doubt sentiment can change in a heartbeat. We've seen that over and over again. We've had.
We made it to 100, Tom.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for 100 likes. Much appreciated. If you have not, if you could please smash the like button for us, we would appreciate it. It does help the stream and the channel in real time. And we want to get people excited about Bitcoin, but also we are a very Bitcoin miner focused channel. So we want to get people back in and understand what's going on with these Bitcoin miners, because, I think there's good things ahead. I'm very optimistic.
Just so everybody knows, I actually paid taxes on my crypto gains. That was not fun, by the way.
Well, that's how it works.
I was very pissed about it. He's like, George, don't miss anything. Whatever you do, don't miss anything. I said, I won't. It wasn't that bad.
I see Robin saying even JP Morgan is changing their stance on Bitcoin. So Robin, I'm going to jump to that because I found that as well. And I have to show it because, almost every stream for a long time, I was able to find a JP Morgan article from that week that was negative about Bitcoin. It was just relentless. However, let me see if I can find this. Just one moment, if you would.
I'm going to crack Aladdin, just so you guys know. That's going to be my new job.
What's your new job?
I'm going to crack Aladdin.
Oh,
It's a mathematical equation. I mean, that's all it is.
You're going to be a happy camper. Okay, so U.S. listed Bitcoin miners hit record 29% of the network hash rate in October. This from JP Morgan, but that's not the positive part. I want to talk about this and then specifically what else JP Morgan said that was positive about Bitcoin. So a good thing, this is good from an investment standpoint. You know, as the network grows, what we want to see out of the publicly traded Bitcoin miners, we want to see them be a larger and larger portion of the network. That is how they can gain value, right? They need to outpace the growth of the network. So you can see this last month, right now, the U.S. publicly traded Bitcoin miners are at their all-time record as a percent of the total Bitcoin network. So that means they're mining more Bitcoin. Ultimately, they're going to be making more money. So the first thing is, you know, if you're invested in the Bitcoin miners, this is great news. So I think this is important news. I don't want to gloss over that. And this is a couple of months in a row. This keeps happening. And I do believe you're going to see this number go up and up and up. I think there's a cap on it. You know, we're not going to be in a world where there's 70% of the network or anything like that, in my opinion. But I think you're going to see this continue to inch up. And the reason that I feel that way is if you look at the way the network is growing, and we know we've been told specific growth plans from 6 or 7 of the big Bitcoin mining companies. And you can see they are very intentionally trying to drastically outpace the growth of the overall Bitcoin network. So you could see 29 turn into 32 or 33% of the overall network. That would be a third of all the Bitcoin mined going to the publicly traded Bitcoin miners, and it could go up from there. So this is a number we should be looking at. This is very good news. But beyond that, they said this right here. So this is from JP Morgan. Mining stocks may offer an attractive trading opportunity heading into the U.S. election. So that's from JP Morgan. So we haven't seen a lot of people talk about mining stocks being a good investment opportunity, you know, in the year 2024. So for just, you know, to put it in perspective, if BlackRock's the biggest money manager out there, which they are, JP Morgan's they're the giant among investment banks. So, you know, this is very bullish, I guess is what I would say. So it's only fair to point out. Go ahead, George.
Are you 100% in the stock market right now? Or do you got anything on the sidelines?
Well, I have the money that I'm never going to put in on the sidelines.
Oh, okay.
And I am, you know, I always have a little bit set aside, but I will tell you this, I committed probably a month ago after, I'll go back to this chart. You know, after buying this dip, I basically told everybody, unless we have a dramatic event, I've been buying the dip on these Bitcoin miners for 3 years. So, like, my positions are full. I'm satisfied. I was satisfied before the last multiple times. And my dollar cost averaging got smaller and smaller and smaller. So, I don't see me, and again, there's a lot of people that haven't even started investing. You know, a very common strategy is to wait for this breakout, right? And not take this roller coaster ride down. There will be a lot of people who don't even begin to invest until we cross this line and start our parabolic move to the upside. So I'm not telling anybody else what to do. It depends where you are in your process. And there's people, most of the people that haven't started investing are not standing here listening on this stream. This is the group that's ahead of the curve. And there's the majority of retail investors not yet paying attention to this because it hasn't gotten, today was nice. This was a nice week for those interested, but this hasn't hit the front page yet. And it will, it has in every previous cycle. And I do think that it will again. Got Sour Melon Gaming saying Bitfarms will go double digits this cycle. So, that's a 5x from here right now. And and a 20x from the bottom in 2022. So that, and that's not uncommon. Most of the Bitcoin miners did a lot more than 20x from the bottom in the last cycle. So I'm not saying they're all going to do that again. I think we're going to have winners and losers. I've been saying that for the last year and a half. But I think the ones that win, are going to have big, big, big runs. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these have a long way to go. A lot of these stocks are nowhere near their high from the previous cycle. Most of them are not.
Would you short any yet, Tom?
I still would say, no, absolutely not. That doesn't mean there won't be pullback. So if you're a swing trader, and you think something's overheated, let's go to the week to date and year to date. Good question, George. Let's take a look at what's gone on. And we can end this poll and start a new one. Do you think the outcome of the U.S. election will affect the Bitcoin cycle? So 67% think that, yes, that will affect the cycle this time around, who wins this election. And I think that's pretty in line with the sentiment out there in general. There's definitely a perception, whatever the reality is, there's definitely a perception that one candidate is a lot more cryptocurrency / Bitcoin friendly than the other. So that's what's going on. All right, let me just get the next poll up, then we'll go to those charts.
As you do that, I'll tell a little story real quick. About, I don't know, about eight years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I was walking in Walmart and I was like, look at Beck, we can buy anything here. We can get this table here. We can get this couch. And I realized I was Walmart rich. So I was just excited about that. But now I don't think you can even walk through Walmart and like outfit your house without it hurting.
I get sticker shock, not to sidetrack, but yes, George, I'm with you. I get sticker shock at the grocery store. Every single thing that I buy right now. And I don't know, I remember my father telling me, that's, used to be a nickel to go to the movies. And so, I'm starting to feel a little bit like that. But this has happened rapidly. Every time I look at the price of something, regardless of it's big or small, I just shake my head. I can't believe it. So I don't know, where everyone else is in the world. We're in the US here, and I know we have a lot of people from Canada and Europe and other places. So I don't know if it's like that all over, but I mean, just paper towel, whatever it is, it's like, whoa, what happened? Okay, sorry. I'm supposed to be typing this poll on him.
I got him sidetracked.
You got me, George.
And has anybody had any lab-grown chicken yet, too? Just want to know. Asking for a friend. Lab-grown meat. Not only
I'll be almost
chicken,
done in a
but
second.
pork, lamb, fish, and beef will be made in the lab. This place in Berkeley, California, that has a 70,000 square foot building making lab grown meat.
So this goes to what we were just talking about. Letters. A lot for nothing. Okay, so pull. Are you still buying Bitcoin and Bitcoin related assets? So as of right now, is the answer yes? My positions are not yet full. No, I'm done buying the dip, or I haven't even started. So are you one of those people who's waiting for the breakout? You're waiting for the new all-time high, then you'll jump in and catch the ride up. What's this group doing? So I told you guys, my positions are full.
I don't get your poll, by the way.
Huh?
I don't get your poll. The question is, are you still buying Bitcoin? Yes. My positions are not full.
So, you know, I have some.
No, I am done buying the dip. I'm a yes. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, if you basically, I added some words, but yes, I'm still buying. No, I'm not buying, or I haven't even started buying.
I'm going to move into my car. Oh, this is why I did it this way.
Switch into the car. Oh, we can go with you?
Yep.
Nice.
I got an hour drive for dinner.
Wow. That's a hike. Okay, so let's get to some data here. So let's take a look at what the Bitcoin miners did this week. So this was a good week. We're going to take a look at this week, and then we're going to take a look at year to date, because there's one number on here that I think is very misleading. So we're going to talk about it, and it's Core Scientific. So I'm going to tell you why, despite the fact, so everything was green, everything outperformed Bitcoin except for Core Scientific. So you might take something negative away from that, but I'm going to show you why I think there's nothing to see there, that there's no takeaway from that, and it's not a big deal. So, however, on the flip side, you've got Cleanspark led the way this week. So Cleanspark, for the first 5 months of the year, Cleanspark was the runaway first place, best performing Bitcoin mining stock. And then it really hit a rough patch for months and months. The next 4 months were brutal for Cleanspark. So now this week seemed to mark a big turnaround. 34% move in 1 week. And remember, this is a $3 billion market cap company. We are only left with the bigger companies now. And, you know, Cleanspark's one of the bigger out of these. Now, you know, 3 billion is not a big company. We know there's $3 trillion companies out there. So understand all the Bitcoin miners are small. And one point I'll make for Edmund, as he's here, if you add up the market cap of every single Bitcoin mining company, it is less than the market cap of Microstrategy. So we're going to take a look at Microstrategy right after this, what they did this week and year to date as well, because they're outperforming not this week. Like Core Scientific, they had a tough week, but year to date, they're the #1 performer. So you've got some big moves. TerraWolf was tied for third place, up 24%, and they're the second best performer on the year. So they continue to perform. I mean, you've got a lot of 20 plus moves here on the week. Bitcoin was up 9%. So this is multiple weeks in a row Bitcoin's been up. It's, this is one of the best weeks the Bitcoin miners have had. And we're going to take a look at some of the charts in specific, because I do think there's some that really seem to look like there's a lot more room to the upside in the short term and the long term. So that's my personal opinion. I tend to be bullish on a lot of these companies. We've honed this list down to 12. I am not bullish on all 12 of these companies. So you'll see there's 12 companies here, plus Bitcoin, plus MicroStrategy is not on the list yet, but it will be. That is not a Bitcoin miner, but it's a Bitcoin related play. And so far this year, it is the best Bitcoin related play by far. But you can see this is very encouraging. So what would be nice if we could put a couple of these weeks together in a row, that's when we're going to start to get some momentum. And this can happen. And by the way, we've had days in the previous bull market that looked like this. So that can happen. We've went, as George said earlier, sentiment can change and things can move quickly. So this is not to belittle this week. This is an absolutely spectacular week for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. But when things heat up, we might see things that dwarf this. And a lot of these companies still need to go up 50 or 70 or 100% just to get back to where they were earlier this year. So now, Core Scientific was down 3%. So that was the outlier on the week. But I'm going to go to the year to date. All right, welcome to Talkin Investing. So let me just get to what Chuck said, and then we'll talk year to date. Chuck is a member. Thank you very much for being a member, Chuck. I only bought last two dips of September, October 2023, and 9 days ago. Bitfarms all the way. I'll buy a few thousand at $1.80 again. So yeah, I mean, you know, depending, it's hard. We've had so many dips, and you guys know, it's like, how many times have we said, you know, how many times can we buy the dip? Now, for those of you that were buying the dip and selling the rip and you were swing trading, you know, there was a lot of money to be made. That's just not my thing. As far as the poll goes, are you still buying Bitcoin and Bitcoin related assets? We're very split. 50-50 pretty much. 50% are buying or plan to buy, and 50% are done. Their positions are full. So I know a lot of you have been doing this for a long time. So I understand. I'm one of those people that feels like I've done my thing. Now I'm going to let it see if it does what it's supposed to do. And Edmund saying, still buying MicroStrategy this week under 195. So there was a big buying opportunity for MicroStrategy. And we're going to take a look at the MicroStrategy chart. It took a dip in the middle of the week. It came all the way back to where it was and ended the week up. Okay, so year to date. So remember, Core Scientific was the only thing in the red this week. But if you look, Core Scientific is the #1 performing Bitcoin mining stock year to date. So we've talked about this many times on the channel. On days or weeks that have big moves like this, there tends to be an evening out. So if some stocks have run way ahead, they'll lag on a week like this because a lot of people will take profits. You know, you're up 130%. You take some of those profits and you go, hey, I'm going to buy some of these stocks that are still in the red year to date and see if I can take the run on those next. So it was no surprise to me that Core Scientific lagged behind. The one that impresses me is TeraWulf's up 118% this year to date. They're the second best performer, and they were up 24% this week. So people are not ready to bail out on TeraWulf yet. They're still piling in. Doesn't even seem like there's profit taking going on. The other thing to note is there's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Bitcoin mining stocks that are in the green year to date. In other words, they're positive year to date. At one point, 10 of these 12 stocks were red, and that point was like 4 weeks ago. So we've had 4 more stocks go positive. Iron's up 33% year to date. Cypher's up 20%. CleanSpark's up 17%. And Hut, with today's action, Hut had a massive update today, and they turned green today. And I didn't find anything specific. So if we go back to, I'm just going to go back to today for a minute and talk about some of the big movers. And I'll leave the nano caps out, some of which moved a lot. Hive, which is one of the smallest stocks that we follow, it was up 15% today. Hut was up 14% today. Bitfarms was up 10% today. CleanSpark was up 9.7% today, so rounds up to 10. So there's your double-digit movers. So to a lot of really big moves to the upside today. And I didn't see anything HUT specific out there, and I searched and searched. Why they were up 14% today, I don't know. But, you know, today was their day. Why was Hive up 15%? Hive on the members only stream, we did talk about, you know, there could be a big jump coming in Hive. And to me, it feels like they're undervalued. So today they got a nice big pop of 15%. But if we go back to the chart that we were just on, that still leaves them down 16% for the year. So they need another day like today just to get back to zero. So, you know, going back to the question, are you done buying? Have you not started buying? Are you in the middle of buying? It's certainly, hey, George.
I was trying to turn it around to show everybody my pool, but it won't work.
It's like a nice day. So back to the poll. The point is basically, if you're not done buying, or if you haven't even started buying, you've got 6 Bitcoin mining companies that are still down year to date. So now you have to decide, are these down year to date because they're garbage? Are these down year to date because they just haven't had their move yet? They haven't been, you know, it's not their turn in the rotation, or, you know, is there a catalyst ahead for them? I'm in some of these stocks. I'm actually invested in the bottom 3. I have 6, and these 3 at the bottom I'm in. So there you go. But I do think these are undervalued. So that's my opinion, not financial advice, right? If you're so far, Marathon, Bitfarms, and Riot have been tough investments, and Hive down 16%. But I think that anywhere from 10 to 12 of these are going to be in the green by December 31st. That's my opinion. Even Riot. And Riot was down like 54% just 3 weeks ago. So it's made up a lot of ground. I think it's even going to get back to zero year to date. Now, that's not a banner year on a year where Bitcoin's having a really great year. You know, if Riot ends up at zero, that's not a win. But from down 36%, you know, it's a win from right here. And Edmund is saying MicroStrategy's up 241%. So I have that chart open. Let me go. So as we look at all these, you'll see TeraWolf up 118 and Core Scientific up 131% are the leaders. But if we go to if we go to MicroStrategy, if I hit the year-to-date button, you'll see, just as Edmund said, 240.87%, 241% year-to-date at a new all-time high. So, I mean, actually, it's not quite at its new all-time high. It did get up to, it looks like 227. It's at 215 right now. So, intraday, I think this is its high, its close of the day. So this has been the winner. I mean, 240%, 241% year to date. So we are going to add this to the chart and compare. But you'll see the interesting thing is if we look at the week, and this is why Edmund mentioned he bought some this week. HUT started this week up in the 220s. It did get down to around 190. So it pulled way back. And again, I think this was part of the rotation. So much people have made so much money in MicroStrategy. They took some of this money, and, you know, I'm speculating, but to me, it feels like they took some of the massive profits in MicroStrategy and started to invest in the things, some of the Bitcoin miners that have been lagging. So I think it's very natural. But look, by the end of the week, the money poured back in, and it was pretty much right back where it started. In fact, there was a jump at the open on Monday, so it did close this Friday higher than it closed last Friday. So if we go back to this chart, the 2 best performing stocks on the year, which is Core Scientific and MicroStrategy, were the 2 worst performing stocks on the week. So that can happen. But I wouldn't let that mean anything to you. I think that, you know, these pauses or moments of consolidation are no big deal for these types of stocks. Midway saying, I like BitDeer as a high risk, high reward. They'll be doing massive exahash growth with their self-made efficient mining machines from now through the end of 2025. So that is going to be the question with BitDeer. They are making their own machine, the Seal 2 and 3 and 4, and they're touting some extremely efficient numbers on the machines that are yet to come. So I do think it's high risk, high reward, because we want to see, they've yet to bring those machines to market, and we've yet to see how they perform over time. But, if you're looking for a risk reward, that's one of them. So that's a company that plans on growing. It's a company that makes their own machines. So that's the thing about these 12 different stocks. These are all 12 different companies. They all have different things they're doing, different philosophies. Robbie's saying, Tom, Mara and Riot will catapult. I agree, Robbie. I mean, that's my opinion. I think they were bigger by market cap. They are names, they've been around a lot. Those two have been on the NASDAQ a lot longer than all the other Bitcoin miners. They've gotten already a lot more institutional adoption. So, they're not getting some of this run. But I think when retail piles back in, those two are going to be still very popular stocks. And I think there's a lot of room left to the upside on those. That's my opinion. Now, they got to perform, right? The caveat to all this, if some of these companies have poor performance, and we get to up close look at that in two ways. Each one of these 12 companies put out some monthly operational updates, so we get to see every single month what they're doing. On top of that, we get quarterly reports. And I will mention there's two companies that put out a press release. Riot is going to announce their quarterly earnings on October 30th after the market closes. And Cypher is going to report their quarterly earnings on October 31st before the market opens. So those will be the first two. And then, the rest will follow over the next couple of weeks. I would just say it is my opinion that this, we've been talking about this all year on the channel. This quarter that they're announce right now, I think will be the worst quarter for every single one of the Bitcoin miners in the year 2024. This is the quarter that, we had the halving. So everybody's numbers are going to be down. And, this is the first full quarter that's 100% post halving. So I think this is going to be a rough one from that perspective. So I would be careful at what you look for in there, and understand that I do think the fourth quarter will be much better. And the first and second quarter of 2025, I think will be much better than that. That's my opinion. And that is largely based on the fact that I think there's a lot more room for Bitcoin on the upside, and we haven't started this run yet. So obviously, if the companies don't perform and or if Bitcoin doesn't perform, then, we're not going to see these big moves. But I think most people here are invested in these because they believe in those two things. Clive, thank you very much for the super chat. Much appreciated. Clive said, Tom, do you think it would make sense to start considering investing in nuclear power companies given the high interest from Amazon and other AI-related companies? Yeah, I know that's been making a lot of splash. Thanks for bringing that up, Clive, and thanks for the super chat, and thank you for being a member. There's been a lot of splash about that in the news lately. And George, I don't know if you can hear or talk.
Yeah, I can actually. Yeah, I heard.
You're
bringing in Love Island or whatever it's called.
You've been talking about nuclear power for the last couple of years.
Well, it's the only thing that we can do to help reduce costs in the United States on electric.
Yeah. And it's one of those maybe not in my backyard situations. And so it has had trouble getting traction, but well, it is in my backyard, so to speak. I mean, we're within 70 miles of 4 major, just outside of Atlanta, 4 major nuclear power plants. And I don't even know if people realize it. And it's one of the reasons that Georgia has such a strong grid. It's one of the reasons that CleanSpark has so many sites in Georgia, right? We see Same thing in Pennsylvania. I think that, and I don't think that Clive's asking from a Bitcoin mining perspective, but I do think more and more Bitcoin miners are going to seek out nuclear energy. And, I will tell you, I have not done any dives on how to even invest, pure play investments in nuclear power. And I don't know, that also could be more. I think the performance of those stocks are going to be more dependent on who wins the election than the performance of Bitcoin.
Well, that's an interesting one, Tom. I don't know who. So is the Democrats or Kamala Harris for nuclear power?
I don't, right now, there's not a lot of consensus around nuclear power. So somebody's going to have to jump outside the box. I'm talking in the United States. So I know, leave in the comments if you're elsewhere around the world. There's a lot more adoption in Europe on this. And I think there's a lot more adoption coming. Right? There's the power grid here in the United States needs all the help it can get. Right? We need to update, refresh, and grow the power grid here substantially. So, I would be surprised if this isn't a part of the puzzle going forward.
Well, I got one for you, Tom. Think about the pagers with, I guess, Israel with Hezbollah, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm sure we just got potted down because of that. But anyways, can you imagine if people made that program against Tesla or any of the electric vehicles? You could do it.
That would be.
There's a song about that. It says, "You dropped a bomb on me, baby." Sorry,
George. All right, I'm going to finish this poll, and I see somebody recommending a good poll, an interesting poll. So, Clive, I don't know the answer to that. Drop what you think the answer to that question is, but I do think that Bitcoin mining companies will be seeking out nuclear power more and more. We've seen, they're all in on hydro. So, that's a huge portion of what makes up the publicly traded Bitcoin mining's power source. And I think, nuclear is more and more and more. But I did see somebody ask an interesting question that I would like to do as a poll.
Okay, Les.
I won't.
All right, let's ask it this way. So from an investment standpoint, is this your first Bitcoin bull market? Or no, were you around for 2020 or were you around for 2016? I won't even go any further back than that. Prior to that, I don't think there were any publicly traded. Riot and Marathon, which were both companies doing totally different things, both switched their business models to Bitcoin mining in 2017. So that's the first time you were even really able to invest in Bitcoin miners here in the US. So, were you in that cycle? Were you in the 2020, 2021 cycle? Or is this your first time around? I'm sure there's a lot of people, I don't know in this group, but most of the people, retail people, this is probably their first go around. Some people, maybe their second. Larry's saying Mara and CleanSpark will be the top two in the big run. So I mean, from a size standpoint, let's go to this chart. I mean, this is how many Bitcoin each one of these mined in September. So you can see Marathon mined 705 Bitcoin in September. They are by far the largest Bitcoin mining company. They have the largest market cap. They have the most exahash. They mine the most Bitcoin. Not saying they're the best company, right? There's a lot of other factors on top of that, but they are the largest. And CleanSpark is the second largest. From a number of Bitcoin mined, from an exahash standpoint, they're neck and neck with Riot. They did announce they're up to 30 exahash now. You'll see 27.6 was at September 30th. They're now at 30 exahash. So they have the second most exahash. They mine the second most Bitcoin, and it's not even close. So there's a few that will be trying to make a run with this. Core Scientific has split their business half and half, so they're not really going to catch up. But Riot is trying to make a big run. Iron is trying to make a big run, but they're pretty far behind. And I think you're going to see Marathon and CleanSpark stay in first and second place from a number of Bitcoin mined and from a amount of exahash for quite some time. We'll see what Riot does. They have big plans. Iron has big plans as well. So, so does several other, but not quite as big. Bitfarms plans to get to 21 at the end of this year, 35 at the end of next year. Cypher plans to get to 35 by the end of 2025. So I don't know. There's a long time between now and then, and that's an awful lot of growth. But we do see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they are Marathon, CleanSpark, Core Scientific, Riot, and Iron that are already over 20 exahash. So I do think this list is going to get smaller and smaller over time. I don't think we're going to have 12 Bitcoin miners. I think we see at least 2 that have already, it seems like, started to move their business away from Bitcoin mining being their primary business. Now, Hut has left the door open. Those two are Hut and Bit Digital. I think Hut has left the door open to maybe get back in, right, with the deal that they've made, I think, with Bitmain on 15 exahash. But even 15 exahash, if they added to that now, their current fleet is extremely old. So even if they added that 15 exahash, they would still be considerably behind the ones that I just mentioned. So time will tell. We'll see what happens. But we were all right. Like I said, there's 7 that we already dropped off this list, and there could be 2 or 3 or 4 more that get dropped off over the course of the next year.
Updated. It's not that bad. I don't like Waze anymore, just so everybody knows. Ever since Google has bought it, they've screwed it up.
Really?
Yeah. Just so you know. In my humble opinion.
In your opinion. So there were a couple of announcements this week. Marathon, actually, this came out during the members only live stream, and one of our members did point this out during the stream. Marathon announces a $200 million line of credit. So this is the shortest, right? You get your investor notice and your forward-looking statements. None of that's the actual press release. This is the shortest press release I've ever seen. It's this right here. And basically it says, today announced that it will secure a $200 million line of credit collateralized by a portion of its Bitcoin holdings. Mara may use the funds to capitalize on strategic opportunities and for other general corporate purposes. So Marathon has done 3 different things in the last few months. They have an at-the-market offering, so they're issuing new shares of stock. They did convertible debt, which they went out and bought 4,000 plus Bitcoin with. And now they have a line of credit. So they are increasing their access to liquidity.
Well, that wasn't bad.
Now, this is collateralized by their Bitcoin, but they have over 25,000 Bitcoin. So, this is a small number in comparison to their balance sheet, in comparison to their overall liquidity, in comparison to the Bitcoin that they have. But, I think this is a positive thing. I don't think this is hugely meaningful. That's my opinion, right? I mean, $200 million to, they may be now, let's take a look and see what their market cap is. It's $4 or $5 billion. Sorry, $5.5 billion market cap. So for a $5.5 billion market cap company, a company that has 25,000 Bitcoin on its balance sheet, to go out and get a $200 million line of credit, well, they did it. I guess that's what I would say. The press releases this week that came out, to me, there were no game changers here at all. This one came out. Bit Digital had a press release. They did acquire another company. They spent $46 million US dollars to acquire a company. And this is completely, you'll see Bit Digital vertically integrates, acquires tier 3 high performance computing data center company, 280 plus megawatt pipeline. That's not active right now. So that's a pipeline that will come over years in major metropolitan areas. So here we go. Bit Digital is one of the 2 companies I mentioned that I think is veering away from Bitcoin mining and more into the high performance computing type stuff. There's a lot of companies, we've got a Core Scientific seems to be the best of both worlds. They are one of the large Bitcoin miners, and they have massive multi-billion-dollar high-performance computing contract. So that they're really in both spaces. Bit Digital, to me, seems to be moving more towards just, focusing on high-performance computing. We'll see. But they're very, very far behind. If we go back to this other chart, you'll see, they're mining 52 Bitcoin a month. You've got companies, you've got Marathon mining 700 Bitcoin, right? So, when somebody's mining 14 or 15 times the Bitcoin that you are, they're going to have a very hard time competing with these companies over time. And it may not be the best use of their allocation of their resources. So I don't know what the answer to that is. And you'll see Hut mining 85 Bitcoin and then Hive at 112. So there's some that are lagging behind. And then the other announcement that came out this week was from Cypher. And to me, this was no new news here. Announces the signing of option agreements to acquire 1.5 gigawatt data center sites in West and North Texas. It's 3 500 megawatt sites. They've talked about this before, and I'm just going to go to the sentence that I think matters. If you look at this, they say, with the addition of these new sites, Cypher's active portfolio and development pipeline will total 2.5 gigawatts across 10 sites. So that's going to allow them to grow a lot bigger. They talk about the fact that this is compatible with Bitcoin mining and high performance computing, but they've been touting this 2.5 gigawatts and across 10 sites for several months. So these aren't new facilities. They're just kind of moving forward in the process. And you can see they do hope to be one of the larger players. So like I said, a lot of these companies have a lot of big plans. The question is, how is everybody going to do at executing these plans over time? We got Midway saying Iron is probably the best deal here at today's price based on its fundamentals. And Cleanspark is still a really good deal too.
When do you think there's going to be a power problem in the United States with the miners and then also with the EVs? Do you think that's ever going to happen?
I think that in certain parts of the United States, we already have energy problems. And yeah, I do think that's going to happen. And I think, what's the saying? Necessity is the mother of invention. I think I'd like to think optimistically as the problems arise, we'll find solutions for them. And there's an awful lot of potential solutions. And then I would say you can see, look at what we just looked at, 3 500 megawatt sites, and they're all in Texas. The Bitcoin mining companies are building massive facilities. So they're not companies that are draining on the system. They're adding to in the infrastructure. So obviously they're using a lot of it, but it does allow. The big problem for most of the states is when it's not 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's when there's massive demand on the grid for whether it's for weather reasons or whatever the case may be. There's times where the grid is overwhelmed. So these Bitcoin miners being able to, they don't have to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have flexibility. They can turn off, kick power to the grid, get paid for it, and help assist the grid grow. So, I'm kind of giving some talking points from the Bitcoin miners' perspective, but here in the US, we've seen an awful lot of that. Now, that's not going to solve the problem because, the reality is, as much as people complain about how much energy Bitcoin miners use, it's a tiny, 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 tiny piece of our overall puzzle. And the amount of energy that is required to, move into the EV situation that we're talking about is many multiples of that. So that's where our power needs are going to come from, as well as other things, as well as an aging power grid. I mean, you know, there's all of that's got to be addressed. And Sour Melon Gaming is asking, Tom, Ben is still saying 21 exahash by the end of the year. Do you really think Bitfarms can still hit that? I will say this. I'm going to give two answers to that. Number one, I wish they had been more specific, because at the end of September, they were still at 11.3, I believe. And that, you know, without a lack of specificity, I assumed they would be adding evenly over time, you know, not perfectly evenly, but they would be growing over time. And they had month over month, they didn't really grow. So that was a little disturbing to me, but there's not much time left. So they're still reiterating in every single press release, they're reiterating that they're going to hit 21 exahash by the end of the year. So that does give me a level of confidence. Even if they get 18 exahash by the end of the year, I'm not going to freak out over that. If they're at 12 or 13 exahash at the end of the year, then to me, they grossly missed this. But if they're at 18 and they lay out a clear plan to quickly, you know, get to 21, and we've seen many of these companies miss by a month or 2 months or 3 months. I will say we've seen others miss by a year or more. Those are the ones I worry about. So if they're in the ballpark on this and they're adamant about it, so I would say my gut tells me they're going to do something close to that. But we're going to find out sooner than later. And if
any news about any ANY?
they fell off of my grid. They don't put out the ones we kicked off. Most of them don't put out monthly operational reports anymore. So we don't even know what they're doing. And their market cap, let's just go there. That is Sphere 3D. Right, this is now a $22 million company. So you can see the companies that we're tracking are mostly between 1 billion and Marathon 5.5 billion. So those, you know, a $21 million company is a nano cap stock. That's why we kicked some of these off by popular demand. People did not want to see these tiny, tiny companies anymore. So I don't follow them. I don't know what's going on with these. Every once in a while, I'll catch a story about one of them.
Didn't they start at close to $1 billion?
I don't remember what their peak was, but it was substantially. Well, let's put it this way. They're down 17%. The 5-year isn't going to be fair. They're down from their peak. So they're down 99%.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, all of the Bitcoin miners at the bottom of the crypto winner, from the top of the previous bull market to the bottom of the crypto winner, the best performing Bitcoin miner was down 91%. There were several that were down 99. Sphere 3D would appear to still be down pretty much 99%, somewhere around 90. I don't know, it was 98%, whatever it is. And they're a $22 million. I mean, that's rough.
But hey, I'm going to take off, guys.
All right, George, I'm going to wrap it up as well. It's actually that time. So let's just quickly check on Bitcoin. And it's kind of gone sideways. We're still above 68,000. We did reach 69,000 on the day. So thanks, George. He just checked out. I know they were driving to dinner. I want to thank everybody for joining the stream. Hopefully everybody had a great week. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Special thanks to all the members. So let's just go through the final results of this poll. Is this your first Bitcoin bull market? 34% of the people here, yes, this was their first. 52% said it was their second. And 14% were around back in the day. And this is their third bull market. So we've got some experienced people here on the stream. I'll end that poll. And with that, I will wish everybody an absolutely fantastic weekend. I hope your portfolio got green this week. I hope you guys all enjoy your weekend. And for the members, we'll see you Tuesday on the members only live stream. And as always, you can join us every Friday after the U.S. markets close for a live stream. Thanks again and have a fantastic weekend.